Hey you guys, it is your favorite train wreck, Josie Bun here. Having a great morning. I may have fallen down the stairs, but I actually found this little table someone was throwing away, so I took it. And we're gonna DIY it today. Let's go! So this amazing find that you're seeing right now was actually a piece of trash that I collected from my boyfriend's condo, and I do kind of see why. However, I don't think I really show you in this video, but someone had tried to fix one of the legs with some spray foam, which ultimately could not be sanded and stained over, so I do end up ultimately having to paint this table, which is a shame because it's such a wonderful, beautiful wooden piece. But with that imperfection, I mean, there was no way to get it out without possibly breaking the leg further, so I do end up just painting the bottom of this table, but I'm paying special attention to this top inlaid square of wood. I'm just going over that with my DeWalt sander. You guys have seen me use this many times. Make sure you are wearing a mask and eye protection while you are sanding.
And in the Ponca City Blackwell area,
I'm sanding away all of the varnish that I can on this top section. This one is the most important part to sand. I want to get every bit of varnish off of this top square, this inlaid part here, and you're seeing I'm going in with my detail sander actually to get these corners filled out, just because I want to make sure that I can stain this part and that all the stain soaks in and it's all of my own color. I'm really not a fan of the black speckling that was inside of this varnish. It looks very traditional American, sort of Art Van almost-esque to me, and I do not want that at all. I want this to look completely handmade. I don't want it to look like it came out of a factory, and I feel like when it has those black speckles on it, it looks like someone tried to make it look handmade, but it's very clearly made by some kind of machine or some kind of factory, and that's just really not my style, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of that. Moving on to the actual body of this piece, I'm actually just going to go over it with my detail sander because that's really what is going to hit these nooks and crannies and all these grooves and lines and things like that, just to get in between there, just to get enough of the varnish off where it's got sort of a texture to it so that the paint will stick. Again, because someone injected this sort of weird foam product into the legs. You can't see it because it's actually on the other side of this leg in particular, and I wanted to sand this extra gently because I knew that there was some sort of damage that they had attempted to fix. I'm taking what looks like an identical stain. I know you don't have to comment. I know it looks nearly identical, but I'm going with a dark aged oak as well as a black stain over top of this just to give it more of a blue tone instead of this weird reddish tone that it had before. I like a deeper, darker, bluer toned wood stain. I'm really not a super big fan of yellow or red toned woods. In certain contexts, totally, but in most contexts, not really. I prefer either a whitewash or like a really nice natural, just like varnishing the wood. And I would have varnished this if it weren't so yellowish red toned naturally. If I had put a varnish over it, it would have been just a bright red, like cherry red wood, and that was not what I was looking for.
and in the Ponca City Blackwell area, 68 degrees today. Winds southerly at about 15 with gusts of 25 miles an hour. Barometric pressure 30.00 and is rising. And no precipitation. We're about a half inch behind.
Finally, I'm gonna go over that with my favorite paint. I say this in every DIY. I feel like you guys have seen from me. I am taking the Bear paint in Nightclub. This is, of course, the same paint that I used in my bathroom makeover video for the shelves, as well as a few other DIYs now that you guys have seen. And I'm gonna go ahead and take this all over the rest of the table. Now it's been sanded. As you can see, the legs, I did a really good job sanding, but as long as you get the varnish off, like that top coat, you don't have to remove all of the stain. You just have to make sure that that first coating of varnish is removed so that there's actual texture to the piece, so that you can actually get the paint to soak into the actual wood, which is what I've done here. And I'm gonna go ahead and take my first coat and make this extremely thin. So I want to be able to see the streaks through it. I want this to dry super well and super flat. I don't want any paint strokes to be in here. I want this to look perfectly painted. For this project, I am using a really nice quality brush, again, just to make sure that there's very few brush strokes involved. You could use a sponge, but because of how textured and small the lines are on this table, you really have to use a brush to get into every nook and cranny of it. Otherwise, your roller or your sponge is just not going to really cut it in terms of actually getting into all these details, and you're gonna have sort of a messier job, especially up at the top where I'm trying to leave a very thin line between where the wooden stained portion of the table is versus the actual painted portion of the table.
All the way from the eastern portions of Montana down to western sections of Nevada, and of course the massive high picking up warm moist air from the south, bringing it northward. So when the two masses collide over Kansas, we are looking for some precipitation, and we'll talk.
And I do just want to mention, now that we are about halfway through the video, that I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. If you are interested in fashion or DIY content like this, I make videos every single week, and I would really appreciate having you in my community. If you are interested in doing so, please hit that subscribe button down below. I would really just love you so much if you did.
And in the Ponca City Blackwell area, 68 degrees today.
So this is what this table looks like with its first coat on, and I'm gonna go ahead and leave that overnight. So I've left this over a day now, and the next day I'm gonna go ahead and come back and do my second coat with a fresh, clean brush. And I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that this is sort of a thicker coat of paint than the first one. So the first one I wanted to make sure it was really even, but since this is the last coat of paint I'll be doing on this piece of furniture, I wanna make sure that this one definitely covers every single speck of sort of sheared out paint that was from the first coat, and just make sure this is really opaque and beautiful and pristine and perfect, so that no one notices any of those little imperfections that this previous owner had created or had tried to solve from when they had received the table.
With a couple of high pressure cells behind it.
And this is what it looks like fresh after the second coat, and here is the reveal. So we have this absolutely stunning little table. It is a bit shorter than most side tables, so I would more so call this like a plant stand or something like that, or you could use it as a side table if you had a particularly short chair, which I do because I do tend to collect vintage furniture, which tends to be shorter than normal furniture that's sold these days. So I guess this works out for me perfectly, and I just love how that dark grayish charcoal color looks against those brass footings on the piece. I think it just makes it look so much more elegant and so much more new, but also retains that beautiful old quality of the wood grain up top. I think that this is a stunning piece, and for something that I picked up in the trash, it turned out really beautifully. Let me know in the comments down below what you would like to see next from me, and I thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one.
Ponca City Blackwell